Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad to see you guys here. This is going to be my review for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I just finished the series, so I had to hop on and give my first takes about what I feel about it and what I thought about it. It's not going to be a play-by-play of it, but it's basically just going to be what I seen, what I liked, what I didn't like, just how I felt about the series, and then we're going to rank it. As you can tell, I'm speaking kind of fast because I'm pretty excited about the direction that they're going with the show and everything like that, and I don't want to forget everything I just saw because I just finished the series. But before I continue, please like, comment, and subscribe here to the channel for more reviews, more things I like to post. Like I said, this whole channel is just basically me just trying to make everybody smile, laugh, and live life in the best way that I know how. So let's get straight to the point. What did I think about the series? I really love the series. I really love the series. There wasn't too many flaws to it. There's a couple of things that it takes some getting used to, but I do love the direction that they went with it. All right, so for starters, I would say probably the number one thing is Spider-Man. How do I feel about him? Um, Off rip, probably one of the best iterations I've seen of Spider-Man in a while. His Spider-Man is like a combination of Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. If Tom Holland, Peter Parker had Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, if that makes sense. Because it felt, and it's gonna sound very cliche, and I'll probably say this a lot, it felt like the comics. It felt like the comics. And I think that was the best part of the show and the element and the spirit that they got from it. Because as you continue to watch the series, you get to watch the show, you get to see Spider-Man's development and where he continues to go. It it they wrote it in such a clear and precise way that you felt like you were reading the comments the comics, and like it was coming to life, even how the animation was, which was kind of a gripe for me, I'm not gonna lie. You can tell like with some of the web swinging and certain scenes in it, it just didn't really the animation still kind of felt wonky at sometimes, but it worked. It kind of gave me, there was an old Spider-Man series on MTV like a long time ago. I remember watching it as a kid, and it was kind of like that same animation. Plus, there was a Ultimate Spider-Man game where you got to play as Venom and Spider-Man, and that same animation felt the same ways too. But either way, it's just it felt good. It was it was everything that you wanted in a Spider-Man character, and it feel kind of bad about loving this iteration of Spider-Man so much, seeing the fact that we have a Spider-Man in live action. But when I say they captured the spirit of it, I can't stress that enough. From his starting stages of being Spider-Man and trying to figure it out and everything like that, to the jokes, my gosh, I cannot tell you how much I miss having a Spider-Man with the quips and the jokes and everything like that. And to have this where he's using his brains and he's smart and you can see the struggles in him, but he's still trying to figure everything out. It felt like a genuine origin story. And I'm not gonna lie, like I wish there was a video game for this. I would play it like off rip. You have my money if you ever made this Spider-Man a video game series, or even if you wanted to kind of bring it into live action, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But outside of that, love Spider-Man, love the voice actor who played him. I think he really picked up the spirit. The trailers didn't really do too much justice because I felt like there was too much wonky stuff in the trailer. But when you watch the series, especially if you watch it as a whole, if you can, you don't have to follow the story. The story is properly wrote so that you can follow everything to a T. Like you're not gonna really miss anything. And may I also say the opening credits for it, watch it. I understand a lot of people don't like the the office hip hop vibe, and I'm not gonna lie, I really don't like the new Spider-Man song in the beginning, but just looking at how they start off every episode and everything that goes the way it does, and how like they show what's going to happen in the episode, but then they kind of don't, or they go tie it into a comic like cover, and just it was just so good. It was so good. um what I would say, maybe I have so much good stuff, so I don't know if I should just start with the bad. So I'll start with things I didn't like. Like I said, the animation does take some getting used to. There's certain areas where it does look wonky, and you just kind of feel like, oh, I'm kind of watching like a video game. And even though it's supposed to be based off the comics and how if a comic book came to life, that's how it's supposed to be. It some areas it worked, some areas it didn't. It just felt very wonky in the motions and especially not so much in the fight scenes, but just other elements where he's walking around and doing stuff. And that was for other characters as well. Um, Something else I didn't like, I guess you could say, if we're going to be picky about it, and this is the internet, so we have to say stuff that we don't like, I would say I did not like the whole Spider-Man always needing somebody in the chair thing. I feel like that was something that has kind of always been there in these newer versions of Spider-Man. I think the only iteration of Spider-Man that I've seen lately, or at least in my lifetime, that never really had a person in the chair was the old school Spider-Man TV show that came on the same time as the X-Men and all of them, and Tobey Maguire's. I feel like everybody else had somebody who was in the chair, and Andrew Garfield had Gwen, which was nice. Not too much, but it just like he didn't depend on Gwen, but she was still a person who helped him out in areas that he should be able to figure out on his own. But it didn't take away from the character. I'm just saying, just another person in his ear, always giving him guidance and direction on where to, how to do things instead of just kind of figuring things out on his own. And I guess you could say Toby had that with Doc Ock in the second movie, but like I said, those characters don't really bother me too much. It's just the fact like how, no offense, the Tom Holland thing, and I like Tom Holland. I really do like Tom Holland. I think he fits perfectly as Spider-Man, but it's just like I can't help but see them sprinkle the MCU flavors into here and then say in the back of my head, I'm like, why didn't we get this in live action? Where was this at the whole time? I kid you not, the thing that bothered me the most was seeing so well put how this was and how this works in our current MCU that I am so furious. And though I'm holding it back because I'm just like, we could have got this. Like, we could have got this with Tom Holland. This could have been like his origin story. This could have been stuff that we seen in flashbacks. This could have been a way that you could have had a Osborn or a Oscorp in the MCU. Like, this could have been how he made his own suit and everything like that. It's just like there's so many elements that they place in this show that you were just like, man, if you just gave that to Tom Holland, he would hands down be the best Spider-Man of all time. But like, I understand when you already put something out there, you can then kind of critique it, you can work on it, you can fix it. And I feel like with this series, they took what Tom Holland Spider-Man was supposed to be and they fixed all those things within this series. And so it works seeing it, but at the same time, it leaves you with this taste in your mouth like, dang, bro, like this is what Tom Holland should be. And it's like, exactly, this is how he should be. But once again, that was just a gripe. Also, one of the gripes I have is too is just like I really don't like him with this like dependency issue. Like he just always feels like he needs somebody. And I'm just like, he's a genius. He's like one of the smartest people in not only the MCU but in Marvel Comics altogether. He should be able to figure some of this stuff out without like necessarily needing to be babysitted by either Iron Man or in this series by Norman Osborn. So it's just like I would still like to see that independency from him where he's able to handle things on his own. But I get it. This is like his freshman year. This is like his starting stages. So it still works out. It's just, man, when you watch this, it just makes you be like, y'all fix the Tom Holland Spider-Man issue. And the problem is, by fixing it, it just makes me wish that we can redo it and then do it this way, but in live action. And sadly to say, we're getting towards the end of it. We might get that, but it all depends on how long he wants to play him. About the time they can even make these type of corrections, they might find a way to bring that Spider-Man into the live action MCU, just because they also tapped into going into new other worlds and stuff like that, which is a spoiler. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold myself in, but that is a spoiler that happens. I won't tell you where, but it does happen in there. So I guess one of the things I would say for starters, before we get too much into spoils, I will say this: Coco Domingo, hopefully I'm saying your name, I don't want to butcher it, as Norman Osborn works. I understand people have a strong feeling about characters that are white with red hair being gender swap or even race swap with black people and or male or women, which they do a lot in this. So if you want to say that it's kind of woke, the only thing I would say is where they changed some things, I don't see why they needed to, and where they did change some things, I can see how it bothers people, but it works in the context of how this show goes. Like for instance, I love Norman Osborn in this. He feels menacing, but he also has that love for Harry that was missing from a lot of other iterations other than the Spider-Man video game a little bit. But this one, like I feel him. Like I can feel like he's a good guy with bad intentions. And so it's like it's going to be interesting to see his development and his growth into what we know he will soon be is the Green Goblin. Now, how soon, you just got to watch the series. I'm sorry to tell you. But overall, I love his performance. This is enough to sell me that he should be Norman Osborn in the actual MCU. But once again, since we're getting close to wrapping up this whole MCU saga and moving on to the next point, I just don't see where we're even going to be too concerned about having a Norman Osborn or even having that type of situation until we see what happens with Secret Wars. But right now, in the animated side, this works perfect. Keep this bad boy going. And obviously, I guess the next season will be Spider-Man sophomore season. So we'll see him grow, get even better, maybe even see more Avengers and characters like that. We see a couple of them show up in here, but I won't say who. Some of the trailers already kind of like goof off and kind of tell you about it, but I won't tell you about it. Just got to watch it for yourself. Outside of that, those are basically the two standouts. If you tell me Spider-Man and Norman Osborn, the dark horse, the one that I think everybody's gonna fall in love with, and if you watch the series, you'll understand, is Lonnie. Yes, his name basically gives away who he becomes, and later on you'll see it. If you don't know by his first name, you'll understand who he is later on in the show. But basically you see the origin story for him as well. And the one thing I kind of like too is that, and hopefully this isn't a spoiler, the series sets up for a lot of events to happen with some people becoming certain characters from the comics. And though it happens a little bit later on in the series, I feel like it's a good bookend for this series to grow. And if it becomes even more popular, which I hope it does, and it becomes even more successful, which I hope it does, it might lead for these guys to either get a spinoff or give us a first taste of their MCU Marvel identities or hero identities, so that when it comes to live action, a lot of people will be more acceptable to it. But outside of that, Lonnie's character was chef kiss. The story and the parallels between him and Peter work so perfectly in this, and you feel bad for where the road that he's going now, but you know, because of who he is in the comics and who he is tied to Spider-Man, it's gotta happen. And the way it happens is just a little bit more heartbreaking than I thought they would go, but it definitely, you still find yourself rooting for him even though you know where his story ends. Um, Interesting enough, we don't get none of the original Spider-Man women, from Mary Jane to even Gwen Stacy in this, but we do get Nico from the Runaways, and even she has a little mystery that's going on with her, because obviously you see the pendant. If you know Nico from the Runaways live action series, or you just know her from the comics as well, you know exactly kind of where her character goes. or you know exactly what her character goes and exactly what her character can do. So this is almost not really an origin story for her. I'm sorry to break that to you, but you don't really get inklings of her abilities or at least who she is until towards the end, and they still don't kind of break that down. So you kind of just get her as kind of like just a normal person, but it doesn't take away from you growing to like her as a side character, and her area or her plot in the story really works for this. Um, and the same thing with Harry Osborn. They really kind of sell him in the trailers, and though he is in this, he's more in this in the later parts of the series. And why he's so involved is also a thing that I'm trying not to spoil about, but he does become very involved into the story, and even his character work. Now, who would you get to play him in live action? I have no idea. But in this iteration, I liked him. He was very charismatic. He was enjoyable. He wasn't annoying. And I kind of like how this is the origin story for their friendship and how it moves on, because it also ties into Nico, which might be a love interest. We'll see how that works out, and how that develops as him continuing to be friends with Peter, who is also Spider-Man. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out down the line. Outside of that, um, very interesting, and how everybody got kind of like their parts in what we know in the comics coming to life, even with Doc Connors. Doc Connors is a woman in this one. I don't think they really took away from the character. It was a shock at first, but I will say it still worked. It still worked. It'd be interesting to see how it works out when it becomes the lizard part. I think one of the biggest things they keep getting away from with the lizard is his relationship with his family and how important that is for him. So I hope one day they actually like show that, or at least even in the series kind of show that, because I feel like they never tie that part. Like his relationship with his wife was a big thing. So with this being a woman, maybe it would be her husband, but we don't know. We don't know. And we don't even really get a breakdown of how she lost her arm. At least I don't think we did. So that's going to be interesting to see also. So overall, I like the series. I had some complaints, like I said, though it was very similar to Tom Holland. It just made me feel more detached from Tom Holland's Spider-Man and feel like this is the Spider-Man I want in the MCU. This is the type of stories I want to be told live action, so I can get that same excitement but with a little bit more grounded feel. Because this felt like a neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's something that we haven't got with Tom Holland Spider-Man. And for us to be going straight into an Avengers movie, we're still not going to get that. So this is a good taste in your mouth. Pause for that, for anybody who is aching and wanting to see a grounded Spider-Man that kind of stays in New York and kind of just be his friendly neighborhood superhero. So overall, I love the series. To me, it's a 5 out of 5. It's an A+. It's rated diamond. I absolutely can't help but tell people to watch this. I want people to watch this. I want this thing to get the best ratings in the world because I think it was really good. There's not too many flaws with it. I can see where people can argue, like I said, with the animation, but outside of that, I don't see too many flaws with this. So that was my iteration. Like I said, it's 5 out of 5 series. It's A+, diamond rated. Everybody needs to go see this. It's on Disney Plus. All the kids can watch it. The family can watch it. If you're a Spider-Man fan, I feel like you're gonna walk away very satisfied with this series. So outside of that, I'm gonna do my countdown. This is gonna lead to the spoiler talk. You can cut off the video from here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll have more reviews for other things. I'm watching currently Paradise on Hulu. That's gonna be one of the things that's gonna come out later on. I got a couple movies that I've been watching as well. Also some K-pop series things that I'm going to be bringing up, and I just finished also Mr. Beast games, so that's going to be coming out soon too. So please stay close, please stay subscribed, and please keep on the lookout for all new stuff. Right now, here goes the countdown for spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is something I have to leave in the spoiler talk because I want everybody to go watch the series and be surprised. So welcome to the spoiler talk. We're going to be real quick. I don't want this video to be too long because I want to respect everybody's time, but I really want to talk about this. So one of the things I really love about this origin story is how, and it's kind of weird because I still don't know how I feel about it. It's weird, but I like it. So technically speaking, Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man because of Spider-Man. So I I don't know how that works out. Now, this would be also a good reason why the Tom Holland's origin story could be very similar to this. I see that working for like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And so seeing it for the first time in this full, you know, animated way, and even just how it played out was very like it was a plot twist I did not see coming. That Spider-Man made Spider-Man. So basically, in the first episode, Doctor Strange comes in with a Venom symbiote type creature, and he's fighting him. And obviously, this Doctor Strange is not from our universe or our world or whatever this is. So off rip, he's fighting him, and through the portal comes the spider. It bites Peter, and that's what gives Peter the abilities and the power to become Spider-Man. Now the twist of the story is we don't know where the spider comes from until the end. So throughout the series, we see Spider-Man going through his motions, going through his basic origin story, his first year or so as Spider-Man, trying to figure things out, try to get things together. And then midway through it, he gets in a fight with Scorpion. From there, Osborn is able to get his blood. Now, what's curious is, was he ever going to get his blood? Because it seemed like he was always aiming to get Spider-Man's DNA. But I think at this opportunity, he took it and he seized it, and he made the best out of it because he ended up injecting it into a spider, which ended up being the same spider that bit him in episode 1. That junk is wild. So you got your powers from you, which is weird because of Doctor Strange, when they fought him at the end, created a portal that he ended up going back in time to the very time where he first landed in Midtown, where the fight happened that allowed the spider to come bite him. So it's a weird time loop on how that worked out. Um, I still don't know how to take that because this is still fresh. I just finished the series, but I would say it works. It's weird, but it works. So it'd be interesting if they ever use this concept in other iterations, or even to explain Tom Holland's origin. But like I said, I don't think they're ever going to touch that. That was the most interesting thing I had to. I was like, "What the heck?" When I was watching that, I could not believe that. Um, Also, the little symbiote thing. So yeah, there's definitely going to be Venom because a piece of it broke off and Osborn got it. So I wonder if they're going to tie it back to like how in the video games Osborn kind of experiments with it and tries to test it out, sees things, and then eventually it breaks out or whatever happens to it, and it usually gets on Eddie Brock. Now, in this one, it'd be interesting if we get an Eddie Brock because we're going through his high school series. So, if this is going to be a series that goes on throughout his high school years, kind of like what we thought we were going to get with Tom Holland, the next series should follow his sophomore year. If that's the case, we might get an Eddie Brock maybe in season 2, might get him in season 3, or they might go the video game route and let Harry be Venom, which we saw it worked in the video game. Then it kind of didn't work in the video game. So it'll be interesting to see if they also pick things from that iteration and try to make it work and tweak it a little bit to make it better if they go the Harry Osborn route. Now, what would be interesting is to see if there's some iterations where that Venom symbiote also gets used to create Carnage, and Carnage becomes something of like a symbiote hybrid that comes from Spider-Man. There was a animated series I saw once where basically Spider-Man became Carnage. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out and how that goes down the line. Him tinkering with stuff, getting a hint of the glider, even seeing him do experiments on animals and stuff like that, and him possibly still having Spider-Man's blood. It's going to be very interesting to see his growth into becoming the Green Goblin and how that plays along. I really hope they don't do the man in the chair thing anymore with with Mr. Osborn, with Norman. I kind of like Harry being the man in the chair, so I hope that still works out. But you could tell there's going to be still some interactions with him until he becomes the villain of the story. Um, Outside of that, I mean, some other spoilers that I really want to hit on is I like the fact at the end we got to look at Nico using her amulet. They kind of showed that off in the last couple episodes of her kind of like talking to it or her kind of like holding tight to it, like for guidance or power until she does a spell that basically allows her to speak to her mother, or it's something that opens up a gateway to wherever her mother is. So we'll see how that pays off in the next season. Harry opens up a company called Web, and you can see certain people that's going to be a part of it. Maybe this leads to what was rumored to be like certain people are going to be Spider-Man sidekicks or like other heroes and stuff like that. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't know who a lot of these people turn out to be. Like Daredevil has like a mentor in the girl named Jane. I don't know who Jane is. I'm not that familiar with her in the comics, so I will have to see how that turns out. But it was pretty interesting to see that she was the spy that let Daredevil know what Norman was doing, and even kind of hinted towards that's how Daredevil knew where to go and get the information that he was looking for. Also, Dr. Octavius is in this, and so far there hasn't been a bad iteration of Dr. Octavius. I think everything they've done with Doc Ock has worked out perfectly, from live action to even animation, even the movies with Miles. I even like that Dr. Octopus. So we're gonna see him probably later on down the series. He's becoming like a staple for Spider-Man in most of all their movies. So movies and TV shows, like they count him as just as big of a villain as Norman. I'm starting to see that now. Where Venom is kind of like we know we're getting a hint from him, but it'll still be interesting to see how far they go with him because they don't really like to touch on the Venom thing, and maybe that's because of what happened with Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire. Um, Scorpion was awesome. Once again, just another MCU glare I have to give. Seeing how Scorpion was done here and knowing this comes from the MCU, from Kevin Feige and them, makes me say, why haven't we got Scorpion yet in live action? Give us Scorpion and give him just as menacing as this dude was, because this felt like Scorpion. This felt like a Scorpion who would kill you. And Scorpion has always kind of been like that, but this was like pure, like what we wanted in the MCU, and which we're probably never gonna get in the MCU. So once again, just another gripe I have to make. Even though they did Scorpion good, I loved his menacingness. I love his craziness. I love how he fought Spider-Man. Um, and even within that fight with Scorpion, Lonnie then gets exposed to one of Dr. Octavius' uh, chemicals, which then gives him his tombstone powers. See, he already got the nickname already, so now he's got the powers to do it. And as we seen at the end credits of the final episode, his fingertips are starting to turn white. So we're gonna get him in his albino look, and even see him maybe test out his abilities on how invulnerable that he actually is. So that's going to be interesting to see also moving forward. Outside of that, I mean, you got Webb, you got Amadeus Choi. We're gonna probably see him later on be Hulkling and see how that works out. Probably no time soon, but they're gonna set that up eventually. Do it. Um, don't think we're gonna get Green Goblin no time soon. Probably be the last season we get him as a final boss. Probably get everything like that. We'll probably even get Venom in the next season. I really think that's probably what they're gonna work out to. So we'll see how that works out. And once again, the I know everybody's probably talked about this, so I want to make sure I get this in before the end. I love the story that they played with his origin story and Ben Parker. Uncle Ben is a staple of Spider-Man. I will say this. I will not get angry. I will hold my posture to this, but MCU dropped the ball when they purposely did not mention Uncle Ben and purposely did not put him or any kind of inklings of his existence within the movies with Tom Holland. Uncle Ben is a staple. And we as Spider-Man fans love Uncle Ben. We love what he means to Peter Parker. And we love that this iteration gave the most respect to Ben Parker as much as I've seen in a long time. Like, you felt like you knew the character from this without even seeing the character even animated. Love how they honored him, how they brought him up, and how he played a pivotal role in not only Aunt May, but also Peter Parker's life. And even him being Spider Man, despite the fact that he wasn't around to see him be Spider Man or even give him that great responsibility talk. Like, which is, I guess now they're going to make it a staple that everybody's going to give him that line other than the person who it should be. But I was okay with it. But I just love the fact that anytime you bring Uncle Ben into a Spider-Man story and you do it as well as they did, needs to get an applause for that. Y'all guys did great with that, and I, as a Spider-Man fan, I really respected that. Aunt May was great. Um, let's see, talked about Harry, talked about Nico. Lonnie also got brought up. Yeah, once again, no Mary Jane, no Gwen Stacy. We're gonna see if the new girl, I forget what her name is. She wasn't really, memorable, but she played a role of Lonnie's story. But we'll see how she plays out. If she's gonna be a love interest. She reminds me a lot of like Liz from the Tom Holland series. So it'll be interesting if they kind of play on that, and then she kind of like moves away or something like that. Maybe she's a bigger character in the MCU. I don't know, but we'll see how they're gonna. I think her name was Pearl, so I don't know if there's like a Pearl in the in like the comics, but if she becomes something, I'll be willing to see how that works out. But if they make her a love interest, it'd be cool. It'd be cool, I guess. I'm not feeling it, but it'd be cool. It might, like I said, it reminds me a lot of Liz from Spider-Man Homecoming. Outside of that, I mean, I'll be interested to see where we go come next season. I love that little talk that he had with Doctor Strange at the end. I love everything that happened. The action was good. Everything was top notch. I feel like this was a good series. We got a lot of call outs for his many different suits that he's worn in the comics. And just to get to the original comic suit and to see Spider-Man in that original red, blue, and black symbol was sweet. I loved it. I appreciate it. And I have to say, this is one of the best iterations I've seen of Spider-Man. I understand it is a little woke in certain areas, and I know a lot of people ain't gonna like some of the changes they made, especially with Osborn. I'm gonna make this prediction. They tested this out because Domingo, the voice actor for Norman Osborn, is probably going to be Norman Osborn in the MCU when they ever get this situated. So that's going to be interesting to see. I think this was just a warm up to get fans to like him like this, and I feel like they did it justice by how they set up Norman and how they made the character. That if we get a version of this Norman in the MCU, I think fans would be okay with him being black, and I think it will work out perfectly. Even with Harry, I feel like any of these characters that would be brought to live action will work out. But obviously, we have to see what the future holds. But outside of that, that's probably my only prediction to this. I think somewhere down the line they're gonna tie in the Spider Verse into all this type of stuff. We'll have to see how that works out. But in the end, this has just been my review. This has been my spoiler review. Like I said, I really love the series. I hope you guys love the series too if you check it out. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to have more stuff coming out. Watch some of my shorts. I'm here to make everybody laugh. I want everybody to feel good about themselves. I want to spread positivity to the world. And one of the ways that I know to do that is to share the things that make me happy and bring me joy. And hopefully it does for you too. The best thing I could do in life is to have everybody have the biggest smile on their face, but also help them to dominate at everything that they do in life. We live by shade, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. So appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys love my little commentary, my little banter about this. And go watch the series. It's on Disney Plus. Even if you just watch that, just watch that. Once again, I am him, he is me. Thank you for watching, and I'll be in touch with you guys to the next video. Bye.